Hello everyone, welcome. Today I'm going to be showing you how to create a basic Tetris game using Coplay. Here you can see at the end is the point that we're going to get to in this video and show you how I got here using Coplay. So I used the normal mode as well as Gemini 3 Pro version, the free version, and I found that that worked well for me to get to the point. Ran into a few problems, but was able to fix it using the assistant. I'm going to show you now with the pre-recorded video how I got here. Okay, so in the start, you can see here me in the bottom right asking it to create me a task list for creating a Tetris style game. And okay, so it created the task list, as you can see here on the right, where it has the different sections, steps it wants to take to get to the end point, at least the basic end point. So as the first point is setting up the actual project, which is like the camera, the background, the basic settings, creating the actual prefabs, like the blocks that you use in Tetris, the L, the shapes, then implementing the board structure, so the form of the board and how high and wide it is going to be, then implementing the left, right, down movement system, which the user controls, and then adding the rotation function for the blocks, and adding collisions for the boundaries of the board, then implementing all the game logic, such as the conditions to clear row and where the blocks need to stop and when they need to spawn and where they need to spawn, and choosing the next block to be spawned. Okay, here you can see me telling it to let's start with the first step, as I was happy with the task list it created. So we can continue on. For me personally, I like to approve stuff myself what it does, because I like seeing what actions it takes and knowing what it is planning to do. And so I have the auto approve off. So here you can see with the first task starting with, it is setting the camera position and setting its view to orthographic, and then changing that size and adding base materials for the board background, adding the background cube and adjusting the size, and creating a basic cube prefab to later adjust for the objects. Yeah, that one. Okay, now it's moving on to the next step, which is to create the tetra prefabs. Here is creating the material for the background, for the assets, the different color materials for the different cubes, then adding a game object a block so that they can base the objects that it's going to create off of said cube in the prefabs. And now it's on continuing, adding the script to create the tetraminos. You can see here you go. The tetraminos were created as prefabs, ready, and adding the script for the board logic, for the borders, how big or how wide it needs to be, and adding a grid system to detect the positioning. And here it is, it's updating. It's sorry, it's adding logic for the game, for the pieces and the movement of down. So to know when and to figure out the grid positions of they're valid or not. Here it's the spawner script as well, which is going to determine where the blocks are going to be spawned and when. And then it's the setup game script, which is just doing the object pooling, the spawning, and telling it which prefabs need to be used when. You can see here it's executing the script, the setup game script, to add everything that is needed. There you go. There you see the script that it's added, and it added all the objects into a string array with names to know which tetraminos to call. Now here it added more scripts, the game manager script, which just controls the whole game, which is the basis of controlling, such as the UI implements, the and being able to communicate with the other scripts. And adding, updating the logic to the board script, and updating logic to the tetramino script, realizing it is not needed anymore. Now we've jumped a lot of tasks because it did all of them quickly. Now we're up to the 10th task, which is creating the UI. So here it's creating the score text, the game over panel, which is the panel for all the UI to go onto, adding a restart button, adding a canvas for all of it, and then adding a game manager component to actually add the game manager script to. You can see here, it's on the step for implementing the UI. Now it's setting all the specifics of the UI, such as the text and the button text and the button logic. Adding the on-click listener for when button is clicked. Now it is doing the final step, which is adding an input system for Unity to understand the inputs you are inputting on the keyboard when playing the game. And you're just waiting for the next step. Here it adds, it did a check and it says it wants to update the tetramino script. And now it's checking from compiler is, as it's done most of the task lists. With that, it's going to take a screenshot of the screen to see if anything is changing. And it found a few things. It wants to change the spawner and then a few UI elements it's going to update. It decided the UI needs a next piece text to show what piece is going to be next. You don't see it now because that we will fix later. You'll see there's a bit of an error that it gets to, but that's fine. We fix it quickly with the use there. This. It checked it and saw it wasn't in the correct position. And now it has done all the task lists and got to a functional point as it sees, and shows you all the task list and tasks that it completed and all the steps it took to do there. And then at the end, you can see the arrow keys is used to play the game. So I tested the game and found out that the whole board was shifted to the top right, and it wasn't in line with the background board. So I was trying to, and then also the blocks colliders weren't sliding past each other, so they were colliding when they shouldn't. So I was trying to telling it the issues, and then also it was using an old Unity input system and told it to change that. So it just gave it that error in, and I took a screenshot of the screen to show it the issue of the game. Here you can see the screenshot that I added as an attachment, and then the error. Here it's going to remove the old input system, update it to the new one, and it is adjusting the positioning for the spawner script, and the setup game script is being updated. And it checked for compilers again after doing that. Here it states what it has done to address these issues. So the blocks were not sliding and they were offset. It says it found the issue and it adjusted to that, and it changed the input system to the new input system. But I ran it again and found out that it was still shifted to the top right. The colliding and everything was fixed, and the input system was properly fixed. So I was just trying to tell it now it needs to shift the whole grid for the blocks that, when they come down, need to be shifted down to the right. I didn't give it a lot of detail. I thought it was enough, but you can see here in the video it shifted the wrong thing. So I just waited for it to finish running all its checks. Instead of adjusting the board position or the spawning position, it just adjusted the camera, which was a fault on me for not specifying properly. And there it's doing all the tests. It finished doing all the checks. You can see here's the summary of it, and it adjusted the camera, which it was fine, which I should have specified. The spawner fix, it changed the position to the spawner, and then it fixed the input system again because that was the last thing it did. But then I found out it didn't fix it, so I decided to go back to a restore point after it fixed the input system, because I found that that was the best point to restore to, as it was still in a functional state then. Okay, here's back to that state, and I this time tried to give it a bit more detail to tell it exactly what it needed to do. So I told it all the objects are spawning top right of where the board is located and the camera is located. It needs to shift that spawning to in line with the board and the camera. And luckily through this point, it was reading to get all the info of all the cameras, the spawners, just getting all the info. Then it and then it changed the main camera positioning and the background positioning to be in line with the spawning, which is another way to fix it. And updated the event system. And it's reading the files for the game manager board and spawner to see if there's anything it needs to adjust for the changes. And here it sees it needs to adjust the input actions again. One property needs to be changed, and then in the Tetris script, it needs to change valid grid positions. But here you can see with the input system update, it didn't find that thing it wanted to change, so it carried on without it. And here, the main camera adjusted it again, changed the transform, and now it should be in the correct position. It's all okay. I need to create a new script to fix the scene, just to make sure, do a check that the camera is always in the correct position. Here you go. It's asking me to execute the fix scene script. There you go. It ran the script. Here you can see me running it. There, everything is in line, working as the background. Now, the next issue I ran into, which you can see, is the contrast between the white blocks and the white background. It doesn't work, and you can't see the positioning of the blocks. I was just here testing the logic that it does delete the rows when completing it, and does add score. It does. And as you can see in the top right, the next piece is clearly showed, and it's accurate. So here, I'm just going to ask it to fix the contrasting materials. So I'm telling it the white blocks blend in with the white background. Here you go, and there it wrote a script to fix the materials. Running it, and there you can see the background for the board changed. And here it's removing old scripts not needed anymore. And materials. There you can see the changes it has done, the visual offset, the input fix, all the changes it's done over the time. Added a bit of a gameplay feel, and updated the materials for visual clarity. And here you can see it's a better contrast for the blocks, easier to see with the black background, and they are perfectly slotting into place. Now I'm going to let the clip run of my bad gameplay to watch.